Beloved soul, welcome. You have carried more than anyone has seen. You have endured moments that made you wonder if you were truly valued, if you were truly chosen, if you were truly enough. And today, I am here to tell you that the answer is yes. Yes, you are enough. Yes, you are loved. Yes, you are still God's precious choice. They tried to replace you. They thought they could walk away, and that someone else could fill the place you once stood in their life. They thought your presence was common, your love replaceable, your heart easy to find in another. But heaven knew the truth. God knew the weight you carried in prayer. He knew the nights you wept quietly, but still prayed blessings over them. He knew that even when they drifted, you did not stop wishing them well. And so, the Lord began to move. When they tried to build life elsewhere, something was missing. When they tried to pour love into another, the connection was never whole. When they tried to find joy apart from you, it slipped through their fingers, because God had written your name in the chapter of their story, and no human choice could erase it. Beloved, some people must walk away to discover the truth of where they belong. And in that journey, God lets them taste what it is to live without the light they once had. It is not to punish them, but to awaken them. They thought you were replaceable, but then they learned through every empty conversation, through every moment of quiet that did not feel like peace, through every attempt to love without the anointing, that you were not just a person in their life. You were an assignment in their destiny. And you, child of God, you did not have to fight for that truth. You didn't have to chase. You didn't have to beg. You didn't have to prove your worth. God Himself let time and circumstances do the revealing. And so now, I want to speak to the ache in your heart, because I know it hurt. I know it wounded you to see them try to replace what you carried. I know the questions that swirled in your mind. Was I not enough? Did they ever really see me? Will I ever be valued the way I deserve? But hear this. The God who formed you does not allow you to be forgotten by those who are truly assigned to your life. You may feel overlooked for a season, but in God's timing, the truth rises to the surface, and that is why they are returning, not because you demanded it, not because you proved them wrong, but because God showed them who you truly are, because God showed them that what He ordains, no one can replace. My dear listener, if this word is reaching deep into your heart, pause for a moment and breathe it in. Let this be a moment between you and the Lord. Let His Spirit whisper that your value was never lost. Let His presence remind you that you are still chosen. And if you feel this message is speaking life to your soul, I humbly invite you to stay connected here. Subscribe so that each week your heart can be met with words of peace and truth. Share your reflections or even your prayer requests in the comments. Your voice matters here. And if you feel led, you can bless this work through a super thanks, helping these words reach other weary souls who need to know they are still God's beloved. It is never just support, it is ministry. Now, they are remembering. They are remembering the way you brought peace into storms. They are remembering the way you spoke life when they were drowning in doubt. They are remembering the way you stood with them, even when they could not see your sacrifice. And this remembering is stirring something deep in them. The laughter they share elsewhere feels hollow. The comfort they seek in other arms feels borrowed, not home. The connection they try to build elsewhere feels like an imitation of what God already gave them. Through you. It is not that God cannot bless new connections, but when something is covenant, when something is ordained, no substitute can satisfy. And so, they are turning, they are looking back, not just with curiosity, but with realization. They see now that you were never just an option. You were the God-appointed answer. You were never just someone they met. You were a piece of God's plan for their life. And beloved, this return is not only about them. It is about you, because God is also showing you that you can stand in stillness. You can rest in His timing. You can trust that your value does not decrease when others fail to see it. You have been in a refining season, a season where your faith had to grow deeper roots, a season where you learned to be loved by God first, before being loved by man again. And now, the page is turning. This is not a desperate reunion. This is a God-orchestrated restoration, one where both hearts know the truth, one where both understand the value of what they have. Beloved, you have not been replaced. You have been preserved for the right moment, preserved for the right heart posture, preserved for the right recognition. And soon, you will see that what God holds together cannot be undone by the hands of man. So walk forward with peace, wait with joy, and know, heaven is aligning the return, and when it happens, you will see why the waiting was worth it. If this word has touched you, let your heart leave a mark here. Comment your thoughts. Share this with someone who needs a gentle reminder of God's faithfulness, and subscribe so we can keep walking this journey together. And if you feel led, a super thanks is a seed sown into the work of God, helping more hearts know they are irreplaceable in His plan. Your story is not over. Your place is not lost, and God is bringing them back. Beloved, I want you to breathe deeply right now. Let your shoulders drop. Let your spirit unclench. You have carried this weight for far too long. And today, I want you to know that the God who saw your tears has already been working behind the scenes. When they walked away, you may have thought you were left behind. When they gave their attention to someone else, you may have believed you were forgotten. When they poured their love into another, you may have wondered if you were ever truly loved at all. But the truth is, God did not let you be replaced. They tried to move on. They tried to build a life without you. They even convinced themselves for a time that someone else could take your place. But heaven watched, and heaven allowed them to see that what God ordains cannot be duplicated. Do you remember how you prayed for them? Even after they left, even after the words they spoke cut deeply, even after you saw them give to someone else the time and attention they once gave to you. You still prayed, you still blessed, you still hoped. You didn't realize it then. But every prayer you whispered was a seed. And now, those seeds are beginning to grow. They are starting to feel a pull back toward you, a longing that nothing else can fill, a restlessness that no one else can calm. It is not because you demanded it. It is because the Spirit of God is stirring their heart, reminding them of what they left, and showing them what they cannot replace. They thought they could find better. They thought they could escape the depth of what you shared. They thought they could close the door and lock it forever. But in the stillness of night, in the quiet moments no one else sees, they remember you. Not just the way you looked, not just the sound of your voice, but the way you carried God's love into their life. They remember the way you prayed for them when they didn't even pray for themselves. They remember the way your presence brought peace to their chaos. They remember the way you spoke truth, not to control them, but to protect them. And the more they remember, the more they realize you were not just a season in their life. You were a gift, a blessing, a covering. And beloved, that realization is leading them back. I know the waiting has been long. I know your heart has wondered if the door is closed for good. I know you have asked God, should I even keep hoping? But here is the truth. Hope in God is never wasted. Even when people make choices that hurt us, even when they walk away, God can write redemption into the very place where pain once lived. They are coming to understand that they left something they may never find again. And in that awakening, they are remembering your value. My dear friend, if this is speaking to your heart, let me encourage you, stay connected to this space. Subscribe so that each message can continue to lift your spirit. Share your heart in the comments, or leave a prayer request so we can believe with you. And if this word has been a blessing, you can offer a super thanks. not as payment, but as a seed to help this ministry keep reaching hearts who need God's gentle voice. Now, they are wrestling inside. They may not tell anyone. They may not post about it. They may even try to hide it. But deep inside, they feel the pull. The tug toward home. The recognition that they walked away from someone God placed in their life. They are beginning to see the difference between temporary comfort and covenant connection. Temporary comfort feels good in the moment, but covenant connection lasts through every storm. Temporary comfort makes promises it can't keep, but covenant connection keeps vows even in the dark. And they know now you were covenant. You were not perfect, but you were faithful. You were not without flaws, but you were true. And that kind of love, that kind of loyalty, that kind of faith cannot be replaced. God has been working in their heart quietly, in conversations they overhear, in songs that remind them of you, in dreams they can't explain. Heaven has been reminding them, you are not just part of their past. You are part of their destiny. And so, the ground is shifting. Where there was distance, there will be closeness again. Where there was misunderstanding, there will be clarity. Where there was pride, there will be humility. They will return not as they were, but with a heart softened by the lessons they learned away from you. And beloved, when they do, you will have a choice to receive them with grace, a choice to trust God's leading, a choice to walk forward in wisdom. Because the return is not about erasing the past. It is about redeeming it. God does not simply bring people back to repeat the same mistakes. He restores with the intention of growth, maturity, and deeper love. And that is why your story is not over. They may have tried to replace you, but God kept your place reserved. So hold your head high, walk with peace, and trust that the one who holds your heart will not let you be forgotten. If this message has met you right where you are, I invite you again to stay connected. Subscribe so you never miss these moments of peace. Share this message with someone who needs hope, and if God places it on your heart, a super thanks is a way to plant a seed into helping more weary souls find rest in Him. You are still chosen. You are still loved, and yes, they are coming back. Beloved, we have walked together through the ache of being left behind, through the quiet truth that no one can truly replace what God has ordained, and through the gentle reality that hearts can find their way home again when the Spirit calls them back. But now, I want to speak into the next part of your story, because when they return, and they will, it will not be by chance. It will not be because you persuaded them. It will not be because you lowered your value just to keep them close. It will be because God Himself drew them back, and because His purpose for your lives together was never over. When they left, there was a part of you that broke. When they tried to replace you, there was a part of you that questioned everything. And yet, here you stand. You are still here. You are still breathing. You are still in God's hand. And what you may not realize is that while they were gone, God was also doing a deep work in you. He was healing wounds that went further back than this one heartbreak. He was teaching you that your worth is not in who stays or who leaves. He was drawing you into a place where you could be whole in Him alone. You see, before the return could happen, the restoration had to begin in you. Because if they had come back too soon, you may have received them in the same broken state they left you in. But now, you are stronger, you are wiser. You are anchored in God's love, and they will see it. They will see the peace in your eyes. They will hear the steadiness in your voice. They will feel the difference in your spirit. Because when God restores, He restores both sides. They have been learning their own lessons too. They learned that not every open door is God's door. They learned that not every connection is covenant. They learned that love without God's presence feels empty. And deep down, they learned that what they had with you was not ordinary. It was marked by heaven. Beloved, I want you to picture this in your spirit. The moment they finally humble themselves and reach out. The moment they say the words you've been waiting to hear. The moment their eyes carry the truth they never spoke before. It will be a moment where time feels still. Because you will know God kept His promise, and yet, this is not just about the fulfillment of a desire. That is about the testimony you will carry. The testimony that you were not replaced. The testimony that you were worth waiting for. The testimony that God's plan is greater than man's detours. And when you tell this story one day, it will not be in bitterness. It will be in awe of how God works all things together for good. My dear friend, if these words are stirring something in your heart, I invite you, let's keep walking together. Subscribe so that every week you can receive these gentle reminders of God's care. Share your reflections or prayer needs in the comments. We are building a circle of faith here. And if you feel led, you can give us super thanks to help this channel continue bringing peace to weary souls. It is not just support, it is part of spreading God's healing word to those who need it most. Now, I want you to remember something important. The return of someone who left is not the completion of your joy. God is your joy. God is your source. God is your unshakable foundation. If you build your peace on whether they stay or go, you will always be at the mercy of human choices. But if you build your peace on the one who never leaves, you will be steady no matter what comes. So when they come back, and I believe they will, receive them in God's wisdom. Let His Spirit lead your response. And do not forget the lessons you learned in the waiting, because the waiting was not wasted. It was preparation. You learned how to love yourself the way God loves you. You learned how to pray from a place of trust instead of fear. You learned that your identity is not tied to anyone else's recognition of it. And that is why, when the restoration happens, it will not break you, it will bless you. They will see a version of you that is stronger in the spirit. They will respect you in a way they did not before. They will treasure what they once took for granted. And together, you will have the opportunity to build something new, not a repeat of the past. Not a copy of what you had before, but something richer, deeper, and more rooted in God's presence. Beloved, this is your season to stand in peace. This is your time to believe that God can do what no human plan can undo. This is your moment to release fear and embrace faith, because they may have tried to replace you, but God never allowed it to succeed. He kept your place in their life reserved. He kept the connection alive in ways you could not see. He kept the promise He whispered to your heart, and soon, you will see with your own eyes the fruit of that faithfulness. So lift your head, walk forward without fear, and trust that when God says something is yours, no one can take it away. If this message has spoken to your soul, let it be known. Share your heart in the comments. Send this to someone who needs the reminder that they are irreplaceable in God's plan. And subscribe so that we can keep meeting here in these moments of peace. And if you feel the Spirit leading you, a super thanks is a way to join in the mission of keeping God's voice of comfort alive in this space. You are loved. You are chosen. You are not replaceable. And God is bringing them back. Beloved soul, we have spoken of the ache of being left. We have walked through the stillness of waiting. We have seen how God does not allow His chosen connections to be replaced. But now, let us go even deeper, because this journey is not just about someone coming back. It is about what God has been building in you during the time they were gone. When they walked away, a door closed. And that door didn't just keep them out. It kept you in a place of refining. God allowed you to feel the absence. Not because He wanted you to hurt, but because He wanted to heal things in you that could only be reached in the silence. There were wounds you carried long before they left. Wounds from people who failed to see your worth. Wounds from promises that were broken. Wounds from feeling not enough again and again. And the Lord, in His mercy, Use this separation to touch those wounds. He sat with you in the nights you felt alone. He caught every tear that fell unseen. He whispered over your spirit when you had no words left to pray, and he began to rebuild you brick by brick, truth by truth, promise by promise until the person you are now is not the same person who watched them leave. Now you carry a peace that does not depend on who stays. Now you walk in a confidence that does not shrink under rejection. Now you stand rooted in the truth that you are loved, chosen, and held by God Himself. This, beloved, is why they cannot replace you, because what you carry is not just kindness. It is not just loyalty. It is the fragrance of God's presence, and that cannot be replicated. They may have found someone who looks similar. They may have found someone who says the right things. They may have found someone who fills the space for a moment, but deep down, their soul knows this is not the same. This is not the one God assigned to walk this part of life with me. And so, no matter how far they wander, there's a string woven by the hand of God that pulls them back toward you. It may be slow, it may take time, but the pull is there, and when they return, they will not only see the difference in you, they will feel it. They will feel the peace that now surrounds you. They will feel the quiet strength that comes from being held by God. They will feel the love that has matured in wisdom and grace. And here is something important to understand. God is not bringing them back so you can feel worthy again. You have always been worthy. He is bringing them back so His story can be told through your lives, because the world sees many broken connections, but it rarely sees restoration. The world sees quick replacements, but it rarely sees the kind of love that survives distance, pride, and mistakes. Your story will not just be about romance. It will be about redemption, and redemption always points back to the Redeemer. Beloved, if these words are speaking life into your heart, I invite you to remain in this space with me. Subscribe so you do not miss these moments of peace and truth. Share your thoughts or prayers in the comments so we can lift each other up. And if you feel led, a super thanks can be a seed that helps this message reach other hearts who need to know they are not forgotten by God. Now, I need to remind you, their return will not erase the pain of the past. It will not undo the nights you cried or the questions you carried. But it can redeem them, because in the end, what the enemy tried to use to break you will be the very thing God uses to show His faithfulness. They will look at you and see someone who did not crumble when they left. They will see someone who stood even in the absence of affirmation. They will see someone who continued to love God even when love from others seemed uncertain. And that will speak louder than anything you could say. Your life itself will be a testimony that you cannot be replaced. A testimony that love without God's foundation will not last. A testimony that God keeps His promises. And beloved, when that day comes, you will not need to prove anything. Your presence will speak for itself. Your peace will answer every question. Your joy will confirm every truth. So while you wait, keep walking in the calling God has given you. Keep pouring love into the life He has entrusted to you. Keep holding His hand and trusting His timing. Because when the page turns, it will turn quickly, and the reunion will not feel like something forced. It will feel like something God Himself wrote into being. They tried to replace you, but God never let it happen. Your place in their life was kept safe. Your name was kept on their heart. And the moment is coming when they will see it as clearly as you do now. If this word has touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. They are not replaceable in God's plan. Subscribe so you can keep receiving these messages of hope. And if you feel led, a super thanks is a way to join hands in keeping these words flowing to more hearts that are waiting for restoration. You are not forgotten. You are not second choice. You are God's chosen. And your story is not over. Beloved, you may not realize it yet, but the very season that felt like loss has been the season of your becoming. They walked away. They gave what they once gave. To you, to someone else. They convinced themselves that the space you held could be filled by another, but heaven saw deeper. God knew that the love you gave was not something human hands could duplicate. It was an expression of His heart through yours. It was prayer wrapped in patience. It was faith clothed in kindness. They thought they could replace you, but they could not replace what God placed within you, and so He allowed their path to lead away for a time, not to punish you, but to protect you, because there were things in them that needed to change before they could walk beside you again. There were things in you that needed to grow before you could stand in the fullness of who you were meant to be. This separation has been sacred preparation, and now I feel this deep in my spirit. The tide is shifting. The longing they once buried is beginning to rise. The truth they once ignored is starting to speak louder than their pride. The connection they once took for granted is now the very thing they can't stop thinking about. Beloved, God is not a God of coincidence. He is the God of perfect timing. When they think of you now, it is not in the shallow way they once did. It is with the weight of realization. They remember the way your presence made them feel safe. They remember the way your words carried life. They remember the way you stood beside them when no one else did. And those memories are leading them back. Not to relive the past, but to build something new, something stronger, something blessed by heaven. You see, when God restores, He does not simply return what was lost. He returns it renewed. Just as gold is refined in fire, this love has been tested in the heat of separation, and it will return more pure than it was before. But here's the part you must hold on to. Your worth is not proven by their return. Your worth was already settled in the heart of God. Whether they came back or not, you are still chosen. You are still loved. You are still His. Their return is not validation. It is confirmation. Confirmation that what God ordains cannot be replaced. Confirmation that prayer is never wasted. Confirmation that love rooted in God always finds its way home. Beloved, if this word is touching your spirit, pause for a moment and let gratitude rise in you, not just for what is coming, but for what God has already done in you during the wait. And I humbly invite you, stay connected to this space. Subscribe so that each week, peace can meet you where you are. Leave your thoughts or your prayer needs in the comments so we can stand together in faith. And if this word has blessed you, you can offer a super thanks to help keep these messages reaching hearts that need God's gentle voice. Now, I want you to see something clearly. They did not return because the other person failed. They returned because without you, they could not feel the wholeness they once knew. It's not about comparison. It's not about winning over someone else. It's about divine connection. The truth is, someone else can share their days. Someone else can hear their laughter. Someone else can walk beside them for a season. But when a bond is marked by God, when your names are written together in His book, the soul cannot settle for anything less. That's why their heart has been restless. That's why their joy has felt incomplete. That's why even in the presence of another, their spirit still turns toward you. And beloved, this is why you didn't have to chase them. You didn't have to prove yourself. You didn't have to convince them. You didn't have to lower your worth just to keep them near. God Himself has been doing the convincing. God Himself has been stirring the longing. God Himself has been showing them, you cannot replace what I have joined together, and soon you will see the fruit of that unseen work. So walk in peace. Keep your heart soft, but your spirit strong. Be ready for the moment the door opens again, because when it does, you will know without a doubt, this is not man's doing. This is the hand of God. They may have tried to replace you, but God never let them. Your place in their life has been protected. Your value in their heart has been revealed. And your story is stepping into its next chapter. If this message has met you in your spirit, share it with someone who feels overlooked or forgotten. Subscribe so you can continue to receive words that steady the heart. And if you feel led, a super thanks is a way to join in sowing seeds of peace into lives around the world. You are loved. You are chosen. And soon, you will see the beauty of God's perfect timing. My dear soul, there comes a time when God takes something that seemed broken beyond repair, and instead of sweeping it away, He begins to weave it back together with His own hands. This is the season you are in now. It's not that you weren't willing to move on. In fact, there was a point where you told yourself, I can live without them. I can build a life without this connection. You said those words because you thought it was the only way to survive. You thought letting go would protect your heart, but God knew the truth. He knew that deep within you, there was still a cord, a connection He Himself had formed. And He also knew that time apart was not meant to erase that bond, but to strengthen it through distance, prayer, and surrender. This isn't just about two people finding each other again. This is about a love God authored, a love that had to pass through fire before it could be trusted with its true purpose. Sometimes God allows distance so that our love can be purified. Sometimes He lets a chapter close so He can reopen it in a way that glorifies Him fully. And sometimes He lets someone walk away only so they can return with a changed heart, ready to love you the way you deserved all along. You may have wondered, why bring them back now? The answer is that God's timing is perfect. He waited until both of you had been refined. He waited until the wounds that once caused pain could no longer bleed the same way. He waited until your love could be anchored in Him, not just an emotion. This is not a fragile return. This is not a momentary reunion. This is a restoration ordained by heaven. When God restores, He does not return things to the way they were. He makes them better than before. The love you are stepping into now will feel safer. The conversations will go deeper. The laughter will ring truer. The prayers you share together will feel like a covering over your entire future. And you will realize that all the waiting, all the wondering, all the tears that fell in the silent nights were not wasted. They were seeds watering the soil. For the very love that stands before you now. Hold this gift carefully. Honor it daily. Pray over it constantly, because when God sends someone back, it's not for you to question if they should be here. It's for you to prepare to love them in the way God always intended. And as you walk forward together, remember this truth: God does not restore halfway. He finishes the story He began. Beloved soul, sometimes life feels like a book we can't stop reading, even though certain chapters bring tears to our eyes. Some pages are heavy with loss, some are painted with joy, and some are filled with silence, those seasons where someone we love deeply is far from us, and we wonder if the bond will ever be restored. But the author of your story, God Himself, does not end a chapter until His will is complete. He's the one who decides when to turn the page. And if He has brought someone back into your life after they once walked away, it means the chapter was never over. They thought they had reached their final goodbye. They thought the ink on the page was dry. But God had written something more, something their eyes could not yet see, but their heart was always meant to feel. It may have taken time for them to understand the depth of your love. It may have taken storms, lonely nights, and prayers whispered into the dark before they realized they had been standing in the presence of one of God's greatest blessings. All along you see, there is something holy about a second chance. It's not just a repetition of the first opportunity, it's redemption. It's the proof that God's mercy and grace are bigger than mistakes, bigger than pride, and bigger than time lost. When God allows two hearts to meet again after separation, it's rarely by accident. He doesn't simply bring people back into your life to repeat the same pain. He brings them back because something has shifted, something has been healed, something has been prepared, something has been refined. Maybe you've been questioning if their return is truly from God. Look closely, beloved. God's fingerprints are found in the peace you feel when you're around them now, in the way their words carry more humility than before, in the way their actions speak a love that is no longer careless, but intentional. People can pretend for a while, but only God can transform a heart. And when He does, the change is unmistakable. Perhaps this is why you feel a strange mix of joy and fear. Joy because the love you thought was lost is returned. Fear because you remember the pain of losing it the first time. But God is whispering, "This time will be different, because I am in it in a deeper way than before." This time, He has built a foundation not on fleeting emotions, but on understanding, faith, and gratitude. This time, there's an awareness that love is fragile and must be guarded, not taken for granted. Beloved, you may have thought the most beautiful part of your story was when you first found each other. But God has saved the best part for the second time. Because now, it's not just a meeting of hearts, it's a meeting of souls that have been tested, humbled, and renewed. If you can trust Him enough to turn the page, you will see the second chance He's given is not a return to the past, but the beginning of a new chapter written in His grace.